get started, man. I must
Let's
say.
get with it.
All right, world. Y'all now tuned in into the Fearchaser. Welcome back. All right. It's your host, Cash Austin, aka Adonis Austin. And I'm here with the one and only Daniel Austin, my cousin. Just happened to be my cousin, but he's great in his own regard and without even having to get into that. So look, today I got my cousin here today. We're gonna talk about homeschooling. He has two beautiful daughters, Addie and Ava. And right now they're 6 and 7. And he's gonna go into just the growth and development he's been seeing with choosing a homeschool. And this is a college graduate from Texas Tech, high regarded school. So yeah, stay
Yeah.
tuned. It's gonna be an interesting conversation.
I'm excited.
All right. Cause first start off, since I did speak about you being a Texas Tech graduate,
Mm-hmm.
let's speak about your story. Tell the folks about your story up to this point.
Gotcha. So let's see. I did go to high school in Texas, and I did want to go to college. I always wanted to work with computers in some type of way, right? When I was growing up, uh, I had always had an interest in fixing computers, putting them together. So when I was in high school, I was a part of this project that actually landed me a scholarship at Texas Tech. This scholarship was for computer engineering, so the hardware side of things, like actually manually putting computers together. Um, I went to Texas Tech my first year, and I quickly found out that is not really where my passion was or what I wanted to do. So already kind
Right.
of starting off a little rocky. Again, I had a passion for computers, but didn't really pinpoint where I wanted, where the passion was really lying. So again, my first year, the college experience was cool, yes, but the classes and what I was learning wasn't sitting right in my spirit,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't what I really wanted. So I talked to some counselors, I talked to my friends that I met in college, and soon figured out what I really wanted to do was program computers. I didn't want to put together the hardware. I wanted to write
Mm-hmm.
code and actually tell the computer once it was all put
Mm-hmm.
together what to do. So my second year, I switched my major to computer science, which
Mm-hmm.
is actually coding. And yeah, I finished up after 4 more years of college with a computer science degree. So yeah, now I know how to code.
Hey, this
um,
programming is essential to life, really. All this is
yeah,
about
yeah.
programming.
Well, it is now. Yeah, definitely in
Yeah.
this day and age. Um, eh, I want to keep it short, and I want to say this. Yes, I was very blessed to have uh an opportunity to go to college and an opportunity to experience that. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt, college is really used, or at least in my experience, and I will say all of this with that disclaimer. In my experience, college is really used if or really amplified or efficient if you want to teach what you are applying, right? If you want to learn something, again, this is the day and age of technology. The information is out there. Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to compare what I know now and what I knew, when I first graduated college, I would definitely say my knowledge or the procurement of my knowledge is 90% YouTube and Google and self-learning and different classes online and different opportunities online. I don't know if I had if I had a chance to redo it, I don't know if I'd go to college, to be honest. Like it's just the disparity between what you can learn now and what's provided in college, just two different worlds, man. So again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed to be able to have that opportunity and go, but I'm gonna definitely encourage um not only my kids with homeschooling, we'll get into that a little bit later, but anybody I talk to, hey, go see if you can go learn it yourself first, especially if you have a passion for it, right? That's the biggest part of it, is having the motivation to learn whatever you're into, and that's not just cornerstone to technology either. That's not just coding and computer stuff. It's really anything. I mean, again, Google, YouTube, they're not just teaching you how to code and stuff like that. It's whatever your focus in life is. So yeah, again, the college experience, there was much more than just schooling and learning. I mean, I started DJing a lot more in college. I've met a bunch of people, a lot of opportunities opened up due to me being able to go to college and being around that environment, you know, of other like-minded people. But if it's just strictly you're trying to learn something, man, that's not an excuse, not anymore.
I dig it.
For
Yeah,
sure. Hmm.
I concur because with all of the information that is available at this point in time,
Yeah.
it's the same as the tools to be able to learn something and to at least become an adept at it. It takes discipline,
Yep.
concentration, and
Yep.
excuse me,
Motivation.
discipline and consistency. I guess those would be
There
the
you go.
same thing
Yep. Yep.
because you can go to college. There's a lot of people that went to college and didn't end up graduating. I was one. I
Right.
chose the wrong major and I dropped
Hmm.
out because it just didn't
It just didn't
fit.
mesh. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if people are just committed to learning something,
Hmm.
you can do that outside of that. Like all
Yeah.
you need is information. So
Right. That's not the only avenue anymore, right? It used to
exactly.
be, hey, you need to go to college in order to get an education. In order to get that information, you have to go there. Not anymore, definitely.
Yeah, I see college more as the accountability partner or
Right. Yeah.
the
That's a good way
person
to look at it. I like it. Yeah.
and just the best thing that I would see to get from it is the networking
Yep.
possibilities. But
Yep.
you
That's
can,
another
I
big one.
mean, that's something you can have gumption and go out in the world on your own.
Right.
And then we
Even
have
even
social
that,
media.
it's the expensive networking party. Yeah. Got to
Yeah,
pay a couple
that
racks
part,
to go
that
and
part,
network there.
yeah, that part, man.
For sure.
So, man, you end up going to college, graduating. Did you get a job first, or did you get married first? How did
Gotcha.
it go?
Definitely job first. So I graduated in 2014, and I've only had two jobs, two corporate level jobs, I should say, two careers since then.
Right,
My first one out of college was working at Home Depot as their systems engineer. And in short, what I would be doing for them is working on their application that they had for tracking inventory in trucks. Right. So this truck went and dropped off this much inventory at this store and then at this warehouse, that it's all got to be tracked somewhere. I was the engineer of that system, right? So I'd make sure that it was rebooted every couple of months, that every couple of days, excuse me, that
mm.
the inventory was tracked every couple of months, like an audit, and making sure that the inventory that was going in and out of the system was input correctly, all that good stuff, right? So I worked at Home Depot for about 9 months, and I was offered a job there, but I ended up,
Mm.
or I worked as an intern for 9 months, excuse me, and then I was offered a job there, but I declined because I did not, um, the culture of that environment was not conducive to my vibe, right? It was very a lot of red tape. There was a lot of just negativity in that place, right? Like a lot of people look at a job as, oh, you just got to grind through it. Like this is the way I make money. They don't look at a
Mm.
job as, something to
An
add to
activity.
their livelihood, right?
Yeah.
If you go to the gym, something optional for yourself. If you go to the gym and everybody's screaming and yelling in there, you're not going to say, oh, this is the only gym, this is the only place I can work out. No, you're just going to go find another gym, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I view a career, right? Like I'm not just gonna stick to it just because they're offering me money or it's stable, blah blah blah. No, if I'm going to be there every day, if that's what I'm going to do, it needs to be not detracting from my life and my vibe. It needs to either be neutral and okay, cool, or adding to it. So
Yeah,
after
you
nine
have that
months,
choice.
yeah,
So
yep, exactly, yep.
that's the point. Excuse me.
So after 9 months, I quit, and I did not have another job lined up, which it may or may not have been the smartest of life choices at the time. This is 1 year out of college. I did end up moving back in with my parents for about 6 months until I landed my next gig, which I am still currently working at 6 years later. And it's this company called Tricentis, and they're based out of Austria. And I'm doing a similar type of job with them, I started off doing a similar type of job, which was a systems engineer, right? People would call us up on the phone. What we do is we test out applications. So say Bank of America makes a brand new app and says, hey, you can transfer your money or you can check all your accounts. They have to test it to make sure it actually works. And that's where my company comes in. So people would call me and say, hey, I got this new app. Can you test it out? And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years or so now. And again, the environment, I don't know if this has anything to do with the company being overseas or not in America, but a lot more lax. Vacation days are worked out a lot differently. The culture and how people talk to each other, it's not toxic. So I've been vibing ever since.
Yeah, I dig that. Salute to that. All right, so I'm seeing cuz that you are big on energy and just the environment. So why homeschooling, and when did this started to manifest, and when you just was like, nah, was it before the kids, or did you just have that sense with having an environment like, hey man, like it has to be curated by me because I understand the world that I'm living in.
Right. And honestly, the homeschooling began due to my oldest having an autoimmune disease. So she was unable to create her own white blood cells, which makes it difficult to fight off even the common cold, right? If she gets a fever, when she was 1, 2, 3 years old, if she had a fever or a cold, we had to take her to the hospital. We couldn't just give her Tylenol, let us sweat it out, everybody cuddle up for a day. We had to take her to the hospital, get her blood drawn to see if she would be able to fight it herself. So at that point, even before she was at the age that we, send them off to pre-K and kindergarten, we already started exploring that option of homeschooling because, I mean, we all know public school is just a petri dish, right? You got a bunch of kids in there, one parent gets a little lazy and one kid comes in sick, everybody's going to be sick, right? So we started to explore the option of homeschooling due to health concerns, honestly.
Okay.
And once we after the first year of homeschooling, we actually started when she was 4. Nothing, it didn't start as like a structured homeschooling. It was just like finding ideas. Okay, we're going to teach you this today. We're going to learn this. But it slowly began growing on us as a family. Honestly, it became a part of the routine. With homeschooling, the schedule is how you set it up, right? It's not just sitting there a couple hours a day and teaching them. I mean, we incorporated into us playing games and board games and going out. Like when we're grocery shopping, she takes care of like the math part, right? I'll just give her, all right, we're buying that for $1.99, and then we add this. What's our total right now for these things in the cart, right? Like we started incorporating it so much into our lives that it just became a norm. So homeschooling at that point became just what we wanted to do. Yeah, but it originally started off with us not really seeing public school as an option due to the health concern, and then grew into so much more.
Yeah, man. They say, well, I heard the saying that it's better to have, excuse me, I'm butchering it, I know. And yet, shout out to the person that did come up with this. I've heard that it's better for a teacher to teach you how to think over what to think. Because once you understand the mechanics of thinking, and you have that down packed, the world is yours because you know you have awareness. So yeah, man, like you say, just having them do the math on the groceries. That's simple, and yet that's a skill that's gonna carry them. That they can
Rest
carry
of their
for
lives.
the
Yeah.
rest of their lives. Excuse me, man. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, that's dope, man. That you on this road and you got it. I mean, I feel like it's only natural because
Mm,
you like I know the whole thing about the public school and
yeah.
is to
Yeah.
keep you more in the system
Mm-hmm.
and yet with
Mm-hmm.
your family, your actual parents, your actual guardians, the people that are loving you, that are in position to love you the most.
Right.
So you know,
Yeah.
that communication between parents, I feel like that's a lot of the disconnect between some families because they don't have the time to communicate as much. So
Mm,
yeah, so when you are homeschooling, you are, and then you're in a sense of just being around each other all the time and you're
right.
learning, you're both elevating and progressing in a way that's just going to be more impactful.
Right. Yeah. And I can attest to that 200% due to us homeschooling. Not only was I able to, decide and curate what I want to teach them or how I want to teach them, or no, what I want to teach them, how I want to teach them became a much more prevalent thought, right? Because not only does everybody learn differently, you have people who are auditory learners or tactile learners, right? But you get to learn even more so about your children, right? And allowing me to step into more so of a traditional teacher role for them. Yes, I'm their dad. I'm going to teach them for the rest of their lives how to do things, right? But to step into a more traditional role like teaching math and teaching English and social studies, all that, I get to see how they learn, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just even between the two kids that I have, they have drastically different learning styles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can sit down, tell Addie, hey, this is the problem. This is how you solve it. Try it. Tell me if you have any questions. I can't do that with Ava, right? So the way Ava learns best is seeing an example, seeing me do it, mimicking it,
Mm-hmm.
mimicking it a couple more times, and then figuring out, what are the variations of how we do this. So if I tell her 1+1 and then ask her 3 seconds later, it will not be in her brain. Like her brain just doesn't grasp it, even though it's such a simple concept, because that's just not how she learns.
Yeah,
Right.
she's a
So
visual
being
learner.
exactly and being in again that traditional teaching role and having it be so constant, I get to apply what I learn while I'm teaching them just to everyday life, right? So now I'm not just teaching them 1+1 and how to spell cat in the way that they understand, but I'm teaching them life stuff, right? I'm teaching them how to be, kids and how to, their chores and how money works and just things about life, how to handle themselves in certain situations. But I get to teach them in a way that they understand better now,
Yeah,
right?
it makes it
I
more
feel like,
tangible.
yeah, exactly. I feel like that's a real big blessing that I did not see coming, right? Because
Yeah.
to be able to talk to your kid on their level,
Yeah,
oh, it,
man.
it makes a big
Oh
difference. It
man,
makes a big
yeah,
difference, I tell
bro.
you.
It's way better, man. I mean, it's you. It's a reflection of
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So the better the connection is, I mean, the clearer the connection is, the better. And
right.
and the best way to do that is through time. And then
Yep, yep.
yeah,
And it takes time, let me tell you
yeah.
that. Oh boy. I'm at a point now where I'm very confident and I can have an interview like this and share my information, but it did not start off clean, man. It did not start off
That's
it
actually one of
wasn't
my
happy the
questions.
whole way through. We went through some ups and downs to get here,
Yeah. So
but
how quickly did they adjust to the homeschooling?
um because the initial push was due to a health concern, they also have a lot of allergies as well, food allergies. So their life has always kind of been uh, not necessarily in a box, but they've always had restrictions of some kind. So they've already had a very early um, adaptation response to these kinds of things, right? So they grafted to the idea of homeschool very quickly, and they've had friends that would come over, once we got into the structured homeschooling, They had friends that came over who were in public school, kindergarten and first grade, who would come over and say, "Oh yeah, recess was cool, and then we had lunch, and then Miss K, she gave us this math paper, and here it is, I drew this." And so they had experiences shared with them about what they were missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
About the things that other kids got to experience. But I made sure that we took those as not something we're missing, but something that just other people got to experience and you didn't, right? Like there's a lot of that's just something common in the world. There's always going to be somebody on the other side that gets to go to the cool place and you don't. That gets like what they have, their life experience will look shinier than yours just because you don't have it, right? Like I made sure to drill into them at a very young age, that not you won't have everything that everybody else has. And because I started early and because I had the, I guess, mindset to start that early, that wasn't a very difficult transition. Right
Mm.
now, we did have other issues. There were other things that came up, but that one in particular wasn't a very hard scenario to navigate for us. You know, that one wasn't too difficult.
That's sweet, bro.
Hmm.
Because I mean, that's part of my thing. Is well, on my questions, I have
Hmm.
what would be the impact on the social life? How are you managing that?
Hmm.
And yet, in the beginning, you do have to set the precedent that
Hmm.
what it looks like
You ain't
with
gonna
the
have everything,
visual,
baby.
it's a different, but you are having everything. You having more than what you need. It's just really, man. I feel like we're here to restructure this whole thing, this
Mm.
whole way of life or programming. Speaking of programming,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
we've been uh running on for over a century now.
Yeah, yeah,
It's something that does lead to only a few getting
right.
out versus having the whole community, the whole village thriving and being able to do for self and know self and love self in the
Hmm.
best ways possible. And the
Hmm.
reason for that is we are, man, we are, as humans and as spiritual beings, you need love, you need a real
Right.
community, you need that environment where it's for you. Like you in your situation have
Hmm.
you figured out, hey, one kid can take the verbal teaching and
Right.
one kid needs the visual.
Hmm.
In school, public school, maybe I
No,
haven't been to private school.
it's a
It's
coverall, man.
everybody sit at the desk,
Yeah,
pen, paper, head
yeah,
down, be
yeah,
quiet.
yeah,
And you see what it gets you. So
yeah.
for them to be in an environment where someone is actually caring for them and feeding them,
We'll listen to
yeah,
how they want to be fed. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
feeding them and properly and
Right.
accordingly
Hmm.
versus just a cog like, hey, one size fits all, we're all gonna do this type of thing.
Right.
And it doesn't work like that. The universe is in multicolor, the
Yep.
rainbows, everything. You know what I'm saying? There's a spectrum to this
Yep.
thing. So to uh to really embrace that is way more beneficial than having them go through the
Hmm.
situation where like, oh, you get recess. How long was recess? Like 30 minutes,
Yeah.
20, 20,
30 minutes. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and then the school lunch. I mean, unless you go to a
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
nice school, are we really eating good?
Right.
Gotta get up early
Yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah.
There's so many things. It's just like,
It's a tough
hey,
structure,
man.
man.
So it's like, yeah, they get to go outside, but you can go outside anytime. Like,
Right. We about to go outside for science class right now.
like, what are
Like,
we talking about here?
yeah.
So yeah, in the beginning, I could see that because
Yeah.
they
But
only know what they
it's
see.
FOMO,
Yeah,
like, and
yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
natural human, reaction. Cool. I did also want to comment on something else that you said, the social interaction, right?
Right.
Because I mean, as a human, I was about to say as a kid, but I mean, even as adults, social interaction is imperative, right? Like nobody can just be alone. Like you were saying, community is very important. That's how you learn social constructs. That's how you learn how about yourself, how you deal with different social interactions. So that was a very, very early thought for me as well, to make sure that I meet that quota too of social interaction. So they are taking ballet classes, and this summer um, Ava is going to join a karate class. And then Addie is thinking about doing soccer. So although we're homeschooling, we're still making sure they get to do extracurricular activities with other children, right? And then again, we have them over at the house all the time, and they have other friends who are even in public school, and we go over to their house. So we did keep in mind that social interaction is very important to the development of a child as well, right? Like, although I can teach them whatever I want, how I want, I can't teach them everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially about themselves. And I need to keep that top of mind while we're in this learning process too. It's not just
Yeah.
me. I can give them the structure, but then they got to go out and apply it and practice it and be able to see how it actually works out in the real world. So
You know
very
what?
important too.
Only time I ever heard about homeschooling coming up was on TV. And the way they
Mhm.
made it seem, the homeschool kid was always weird and just locked up, like the
Yeah, yeah.
stoop kid on Hey Arnold. They made it seem like
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, I
And
just like the rest of the world, it's expanded.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's a lot because it's not you hear homeschool and then okay, like yeah, the kid's gonna be locked away and never seen.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like no, like a social life for my children if I'm
Hmm.
homeschooling them is to do
Hmm.
something intramural, far as like you say karate, man. I'll
Yeah.
do Brazilian
Just
jiu-jitsu or something
saying,
like that.
we had to get it out there too, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
and
hey,
you
there
can
ain't no karate classes at your school, I bet.
real shit. So
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you can see them. It's gonna be, get you a big class or whatever like that, and just at
Hmm.
this point, these are the points in their life where they can just start developing relationships, and then
Right.
with social media, they'll be connected just like that. So
Right. Right.
I, I see it being more easier and more beneficial
Hmm.
than in public schooling, in my eyes.
Yep.
So
Um, it is work though.
that's cool though. What's not?
Yeah. I
Talk about
well,
being your kids.
well, yeah, and that's how I view it as well. But I do just want to point out, or I want to at least have this be said. It's much more work than I initially thought, right? Like,
Mm,
we've obviously built it into the schedule. We've built our lives to become accustomed to this work, right? But that is one thing I think um a lot of parents may not take into account when exploring it at first, right?
yeah.
Like, there's a lot of planning that goes into it. Everybody, although the work is easy, right? Okay, it's 1 plus 1. I'm an adult, I can do that. But
Hmm.
can you teach 1 plus 1, right? Teaching
Yeah.
the concept takes a lot more energy than just knowing the concept. And I
Right.
think a lot of people don't really understand the distinction between those two, being able to teach the concept and knowing the concept. So,
Right. So it would be foreign ground for y'all as well because y'all weren't
mhm.
traditionally homeschooled. So it's
Right. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of learning that goes along the way.
And like me, like we are speaking though, you do have time, and this is something that they can go at their own pace.
Yep. That's also whether that be slower or faster, which I'm learning now.
Right.
Um, Especially with, the different strengths of your child, right? You might learn math faster than you learn English, or vice versa, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Addie is doing third grade math at this point, and she's 7, right? Like, so, and Ava, she's sitting there at kindergarten math at this point, and I'm like, okay, well, now I can't bulk teach them anymore, right? I can't teach them the same stuff,
Mm-hmm.
although they're pretty close in age,
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't want to hold Addie back, right?
Right.
I'm not going to keep teaching her the same thing over and over just because that's where Ava's at right now, and she's having a hard
Yeah.
time getting that concept. So yeah, definitely going at your pace is a huge plus for homeschooling.
Yeah. So how did you pick the curriculum? How did it go?
Mhm. That was a wonderful adventure. again, just started off with Google and YouTube, seeing what kind of curriculums were out there, seeing what was accepted in my state as a certified curriculum as well, or what did I need to do in order to get them ready for in game. And this is planning way down the line, right? Getting GED and making sure things are credited correctly. But my baby mom and I, we've went through, I think, four different curriculums at this point, different homeschooling curriculums that we found online, and finally decided we don't really want to stick to one because we haven't found one that kind of matches not only the pace or the interface that we were using. There was always something wrong. So we're actually using a couple of different interfaces to teach the kids for specific things, right? So again, there's a wealth of opportunities and different applications that are out there that a lot of people could like, but we've picked and chose a few parts from multiple different curriculums. So we're in this program called IXL. That's very good for teaching the fundamentals of math and English. And then we use another, and this one's more popular, ABC Mouse, for sciences, for social studies. What else? I think just those two subjects. And then there is another program that's actually ran by a friend of mine that I went to high school with, that he helped found, I guess, which is called 2020. And we use that for it's more so general knowledge, right? So teaching the kids about how the world works today. How does the internet work? How does cell phones work? How does, a lot of these different technologies work? Home appliances, right? Like, how does the microwave actually work? Like some of these things that kind of may flow over people's head. Okay, I have a microwave. Yeah, I can press a button. Okay, cool. But he actually goes in depth on in depth enough to understand, right? We're not trying to teach them, okay, yeah, you're a mechanic now, you can fix a microwave, but you understand the basics of how the things that you use in your day-to-day life, how they work. So very important as well. So again, we over the years, we've grown a collection of curriculums that we kind of mash together to, again, give them the best education that we can.
Hey man, that's dope because like in regards of them going at their own pace, you're also customizing the experience of their education. And like my next question is when they're gonna start learning coding and all of these things like that. Because I know there's no limitation on the mind, especially for them to be young and have a young melanated mind, all of that stuff.
Ready? Ooh, they
To really
little
be honest.
sponges.
Yeah, so they snapping and going off.
Yeah. So obviously with me being in that field, they kind of have been exposed to it already. They see me working. I actually picked up a game on the Nintendo Switch that introduces coding on a elementary level, like very simple if statements and statements, just the fundamentals of coding, but it allows you to make a little game with it, right? So as far as when they'll learn, they've already stepped into that pool, right? Like that we've given them enough exposure to it for them to be able to know if they have an interest in it or not. And both kids so far have a pretty deep interest in learning how to build code and how to code themselves, right? So first things first, we definitely got to get the reading level up for both of them, right? You got to be able to read by yourself. We're still sounding out words, getting them going. But I think as soon as they're proficient readers and they can sit down and read a book all by themselves, oh yeah, coding's definitely going to be next.
Yeah, I already
Yeah,
know, man.
independent coding. Yeah.
if we're gonna be real about it, you have some two whiz kids. That's what we make. So man,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, put them in a position where they'll be able to just be free
Yep.
to fly.
Hmm.
And like no man, I'm
I'm ready
proud.
for it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You just to see what you
It's a
finna put
good
it.
feeling.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good
That
feeling.
I know it, man. That's dope, bro.
It's a good feeling.
Hey, so at this point, what would be the cost to run this type of operation?
Okay, let's see. So homeschooling just for the curriculums, I think we're spending $50 a month just for the curriculums. And that's again, that's including like worksheets, it's including the applications that we use, which I mean is in daily use, so well worth the investments. There are obviously free ways to do that, but again, it's a lot of work and a lot of time investment. So getting help where you can, definitely worth it. So just the curriculums in total would be $50. And then home supplies, that's really, I think, uh in, it's a cost that needs to be said, right? Getting pencils, paper, coloring books, activity books. I mean, we do a lot of projects and stuff. And I mean, I'd say what, 100 a month maybe, right? Again, and it's just that the typical school things, folders, so you be organized, all that good stuff. um but outside of that, I mean, it's just whatever comes up that we feel like doing, right? So I mean, with that being the core, we I can run the same operation I am without all the extra things that we're doing. I mean, with field trips and putting anything extra into their education. With just that, I mean, we'd be in the same place. Now, obviously, I might add a little extra here and there just because they're my kids. I love them. Whatever, we're gonna do something fun. I'll go a little extra above and beyond. But as a core of just homeschooling, if you just want to homeschool, find you a good curriculum, make sure you're organized, and make sure you're buying the um all I don't know if I want to put necessities as the adjective for it, but I can't think of a better word. But the necessities for, learning at home, making sure that it's efficient and comfortable, right? The pens and papers and folders and activity books and all that extra stuff. That was something that kind of caught me by surprise at first. We were only using the curriculum, and that definitely was not enough, right? School, if you think about it, even at public school is more than that, right? Although it is just sit down, hey, okay, we're learning. There's still lots of of that extra stuff, the tactile learning, right? Yeah, the projects and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that, again, another learning point after a year or so. I'm like, oh man, okay, y'all getting a little burnt out. We can't just I can't just be drilling y'all every day. We got to make it interactive and fun, and we got to add a little extra into it. But no, homeschooling definitely has not been uh an expensive part of the budget for sure.
All right, so comparing them to school kids their age that are in
Hmm.
public school,
Hmm.
how are they able to get to?
Yeah, so there there's definitely a disparity in um experiences, but as far as just interaction, right? Like sometimes, kids will be like, "Oh, this happened at school today." They can't join in, right? They can't join in that conversation, and they've learned to kind of identify quickly when it's not their turn, right? Like, all right, I don't get that one, cool. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm jumping in as soon as I can, as soon as we jump into something else. Or
Mm-hmm.
actually, what I've begun teaching Addie is don't be afraid to, especially as you're a kid and growing up now, interject yourself, right? And it's fine. You don't have to feel rude or feel like how she described it is taking over, right? Like playtime or whatever. Um,
Yeah,
but as
understand
far
you
as
can get
just like,
lost in the sauce. Excuse
eh,
me. Just
no,
yeah.
I've used that exact phrasing, and
Hey,
they
real
have
talk. Yeah.
passed it on to their friends. Actually, they run around saying that In the house. I taught him that
Hey,
like about a month ago. And
yeah,
I mean, they obviously have taken it like, most kids will, and applied it to everything. So if I'm playing
yeah,
video
man.
games, for example, and Ava will come up and like, hey dad, is it dinner time? I'm like, no, you see it's cooking. She's like, okay, and then ask me another question. I don't hear it. She's like, dad, are you lost in the sauce right now? You sauce and dad, you sauce,
Yeah,
you
you know
know.
what I'm saying?
So they get I
That's
get to teach them
beautiful.
concepts like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So she
man.
will make sure that she doesn't get lost in the sauce while interacting in those situations that happen, because they're going to happen, right? Regardless. But I'd say their interaction with kids in general, uh, it's not halted. Or I mean, we take them to the park. They're the first ones to make friends out there, and the
Mm-hmm.
first ones to say bye when they gotta go. Right? That's no, oh, with 5 more minutes, or whining because we already have a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We know, right?
Yeah.
There's a president already set up. So
Yeah.
none of that stuff. So yeah,
I,
I wouldn't say that it's been any hindrance in their
I
social development growth.
Yeah, I can see that, man. It's a constant flow of just being who they are because
Yeah,
it'll be the school you if you're in public school or private
yeah,
school, it'll be the
yeah.
school you and then it'll be the
Home you,
home
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
and that's coupling with the parents work them and their
Exactly.
home them.
Yep.
So it's
With homeschool, it's just you just you all the time, and
straight
you don't
at it,
really get
man.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah,
world is you feel like the world is your oyster, man. I love it, bro.
yeah.
Kids will be
And
so
we
man, that's
really get that
exciting.
a lot when going out to, because I mean, I'm a very silly, goofy guy. I'm not the guy that's like scared to like dance in public. We'll be singing, dance in public. We just uh, social interactions don't embarrass or scare us, right?
Right.
So I mean, we'll be getting compliments all the time when we're going out, and just there was this one time we were grocery shopping, and we were freestyling about what we were picking up. Right.
Yeah.
And so as we're going down the aisle, and Ava hit me with this line, man, I
Yeah.
forgot what it was, but she was like, Dad, we need some Pop Tarts. I don't know, but isn't it art? Just look at it, looking so pretty. Oh, look at me, I'm sitting so witty. I'm like, oh, girl, we getting a
No.
whole box. We getting a whole box. And like there was a mom and a kid, uh, had her kid in the cart, and he was like, oh, like hearing us, oh, I
Yeah.
want Pop Tarts too. I want Pop Tarts. She's like,
Hmm.
no, we can't get any. He immediately started crying. He
Mm.
just started throwing a fit, started crying.
He saw the
Ava
commercial.
stopped. Yeah. Ava stopped, looked at me, and was like, Dad, what's up with him? I was like, I don't know, baby. Come on. I don't know.
Mm.
Don't take that
Hmm.
example. That's not an example for you.
Hmm.
That's not how
Mm.
you get
That's
what you
not the
want,
play.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not it. That's not it.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
I'd say the even with the good and the bad, their social interaction has not been hindered by the choice of homeschooling. Yeah.
That's tight, bro. And you
Yeah.
actually being interactive with your kids more than others is
Hmm.
also something that's turning. You send me music clips and whatnot.
Oh
That's
yeah,
working,
yeah.
man.
Yep, yeah. Being a DJ and just like loving music, right? It's scooting into more of the production thing. I I bring my kids along to all of my hobbies, right? I
Hmm.
try my best to integrate what I love with the kids. I've recently started getting into graffiti and spray painting, and I've spray painted my whole garage. This is just full of graffiti now. Let
Hmm.
the girls tag it up a little bit too.
Mm.
With my music thing, both the girls know how to turn on the turntables, put on a track, switch both tracks. We've also been doing some production stuff. I bought a looper machine. So we've been making music with that. And also, I think I sent you the Bluey one, like the cartoon that they watch. I took the intro of that, used it as a sample, flipped it, put their voices in it, let them
Yeah, I
get on
got
the
it. Yeah.
track, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So just taking what I like to do and bringing them along while I'm learning, right? Like I'm not a professional um DJ or a professional, producer or anything, but I have an inclination to learn it. So I'm like, hey, y'all come on this ride with me, right? Like y'all get a
Hmm.
little exposure of how I learn, right? Like that's really what I want to teach them. This is how you learn, right? Again, not teaching them what to learn, but this is how you do it. If you don't know something, look it up. If you
Hmm.
find a word that you're unfamiliar with, Yeah, look that up too. Pull up another tab, right? Like that's learning. You continually teaching yourself. And then these are the fruits of you learning. After we sit here and learn together, then we get to do
Mm-hmm.
all the fun stuff. Now look, every time they invite a friend over, they're like, "Hey, we made a song." They're like, "What? Kids can't make songs. What are you talking about? You can't make a song. Songs are only for adults and on the radio." Dad, hit it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the
Like, I
thing,
got you, baby.
man. They
Yeah.
low key the cool kids, man, because
Yeah. Yeah.
those people at school lunch like, man.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
and it's only gonna get bigger, man. I'm just hearing it, bro. I'm seeing it. I already know, man. We're in the future now, and they just killing whatever they're doing. They probably got corporations. They running
Right.
it. They got their own
Can
estates,
see it now.
cars,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just running the world, man. Having fun with it, man.
Doing what they want and
Yeah,
doing it how they want. Yeah. Yeah.
allow them to, because it doesn't have to be hard nosed to education doesn't have to be hard nosed.
Right.
And because naturally, like everyone knows, kids come out as sponges. They picking up everything.
Right.
The mind just has to know.
Right.
So if you're at the very least just cultivating the environment,
Right.
it's going to do what it's going to do. So them
Yep.
being around you, being able to be a part of your world,
Right.
everyone chooses their parents. So them choosing you, they know spiritually deep inside their hearts what this experience was going to entail. It's going to be, I can see what's going on in this place called Earth, and
Right.
and
Yep.
have someone that's going to allow me to do it unfiltered.
Right.
And that's what, and we all have this opportunity to do this with our kids.
Right.
I know. One of my questions is, what does Dan do? Dan,
Mm-hmm.
the person, do to be able to sustain this? Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yes, you building with your kids,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be on top of your game in
Right.
your own world so you can have this experience go on. Because
That's a
yeah,
good one, man.
people can have 9 to 5s be like, you have to work at home basically.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
have your kids with you. So like, how does how does that work out? How does that Dan the man
The
become Dan the dad?
the biggest thing I think that has attributed to me having the energy and the mental capacity to do so is explaining to my kids that I'm a human too. My kids do not see me as the person that knows everything or the end all say all. They see me as their dad, which is a cool guy, sure, but I need naps. I need a break. I need time to center myself, and I take that time,
Mm,
right? If we're working on something and I got a meeting that popped up, it's not a detractor from them. It's not, oh, dad has to go to a meeting. It's dad needs to take care of business. I set that
mm-hmm,
mentality with them, right?
mm-hmm,
If I'm not having a good mental day, right, I just wake up on the wrong side of the bed because it happens, right? I let them know immediately, right? It's open communication. Hey, girls,
mm-hmm.
daddy just ain't feeling it. I'm not feeling hot, and I think we should just chill out today. I don't want a lot of questions. We can't do a lot today. I don't have the energy. So what should we do? And right, letting them be a part of the solution allows them to ha build on their own mentality of what dad is,
Mm,
right? So I think again, I think the largest um factor to that is being open and honest about when you do have the energy to do something, right? Because then that allows them to help not only monitor themselves, right? Okay, well, we're not going to mess with dad today. Or actually what they do now is they give spa days, right? They're like, oh, dad's not having a good one. Oh, even better example is we'll have days where they teach me something where
mm,
they become the teachers because I can't teach right now. So how about we take a day where we review things that I've taught you and you tell it back to me to see if you've really grasped onto it. So Addie,
mm-hmm,
you're going to take math, you're going to teach me some math lessons, and Ava, you're going to take English. You're going to spell some words out for me, tell me the sounds of the letters and all that cuz I'm tired. I can't today, right? So it's very important it's the most important to take care of yourself because if you're not 100 and you're not able to give that energy, then your kids are going to pick up on it by themselves and make their own assumptions about it. But no, you got to open communication, let them know, and then come up with a solution that works out for everybody together, right? I'm not sitting there telling my kids, hey, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it. Allow them to be a part of that process of recuperating yourself, right? Because they're your kids, they're going to be around, so why not? Yep, very important to take care of yourself as well.
All right, man. And your lady, she's
Mm-hmm.
also here too. So how do y'all split up time with them, or how does that go?
So I
Uh,
do most of the homeschooling, but she comes in whenever she, has time. She has a more traditional 9 to 5. So while we're doing most of the schooling, she's usually at work in a
mm-hmm,
meeting or something. But she comes in, just as the special character. Hey, mom's here today. Okay, we got a special guest. Here we go. What we
mm-hmm.
changing about school, right? And again,
Yeah.
school is not just 9 to 5. It's whenever we want, right? We took a
Right.
road
Yeah.
trip and we're sitting there doing letters and numbers in the car, right? So it's not necessarily just that time limit, but at the end of the day, right? She'll go in there, read them a book, and then have them read her a book, right? So that's their English for the day. So again, it's not a structured kind of sharing of responsibilities. It's more so, hey, we both have a responsibility to these children, so let's give them what we have, right?
And it should all come together too, though.
Yeah,
So
it does. Again, if you have open communication with your partner and good communication to where I can I know at any point I can be like, hey, not today, help me out, like I need some help, right? And I won't feel bad about it. I don't feel like I need to go and make it up to her the next day, right? Because it's both of our responsibilities. And I don't feel bad about being the main person teaching them, right? I don't feel like I'm excluding her. I don't feel she doesn't feel excluded. I
hmm
don't feel like this responsibility is a burden, right? Like, oh, I
hmm
got to do it all by myself, blah blah blah. No,
hmm
you communicate, figure out what works, right? And what works for us is me taking the lead on most of the traditional teaching because she does come up by herself enough, right? I don't have to tell her, hey, it'd be good if you shut up.
hmm
It just give the kids like, hey, it is a family thing. Again, we incorporate it into our lives. So
hmm
school is all the time, and school's none of the time.
Yeah, real talk. She mama,
Yeah.
I know she want to get some too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, she
She said, we reading a book a day. I said, baby,
yeah.
it's not English time, but okay, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Real talk. I already know,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Hey man, so I'm gonna close out with this, man. You're doing a
Hmm.
kick-ass job running a loving family unit that's progressive, and you are really
Yeah.
knocking down some walls, some doors, man. You knocking down whole houses of institutions.
Knocking them down. I
Real
appreciate that,
talk,
cuz.
man.
Yeah.
So look, man. I'm gonna salute you and just say you are a fear chaser. You are going against the grain. This is what this show is about, man. People that figure out how to live their best life under their
Hmm.
rules on their terms. And you are
Right.
doing it, man. And I salute to you and I thank you for coming on this show, man. Would you like to close out with anything just for parents that are homeschooling or even thinking
Hmm.
about homeschooling?
Yeah, yeah. It is definitely worth it. It's not just homeschooling, and I figured that out after a couple of years of doing it. It's building a connection with your children, right? If you're looking into homeschooling or you're already homeschooling, don't just make it about school. You gotta turn homeschooling. I'd honestly get that word out of your vocabulary at this point and just make it a part of your day to day. Make it a part of your life, right? Like put that extra 2% of energy into this because the dividends after a couple of years after you put in that work, I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. I know my kids so much better. My kids and I have a much more um, understanding relationship of each other, right? Like we're having conversations that I know for a fact that some children would not have with their parents, right? Like our relationship has grown a lot stronger, and it's just homeschooling has turned into such a wonderful experience for me after putting in the extra work. So put in the work and do it.
Yes, yes, Lord. Y'all heard the man. Shout out Dan the man, Dan the dad.
There you go.
Yeah. This is Adonis Austin, man. This was the Fearchaser, and it is the Fearchaser, man. Go out there and live your best life. Cut away that fear. Salute y'all. Thank y'all. Love. Peace.